A Texas mother was indicted Wednesday on capital murder charges for stabbing 3 of her children to death in March 2023. Ellis County prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for Shemaiah Hall, the 25-year-old mother, who allegedly killed her 6-year-old son as well as her 5-year-old twins after CPS, Child Protective Services, tried to remove the children along with her 4-year-old son and 13-month-old daughter. All 5 children were in the process of being removed by Child Protective Services from the mother's residence in Italy, Texas, and tragically, seemingly, the mother, Shemaiah Hall, who wasn't the legal guardian of the 5 children, the grandmother of the children was the legal guardian, had custody of the children. The mother, Shemaiah Hall, was, by the look of it, visiting the grandmother. She was alone with the children. Child Protective Services tried to remove the children, and I'm going to say this psychopath, Shemaiah Hall, killed 3 of the children, a 6-year-old and 5-year-old twins, and attempted to kill her 4-year-old son and 13-month-old daughter. Awful, awful, awful. The CPS caseworker reportedly called 911 after Shemaiah Hall entered the home and returned outside with blood on her hands. So by the look of it, the CPS caseworker was literally on site, perhaps outside, waiting in their car, something like that. And my interpretation of the article that I've read through is that the CPS caseworker witnessed the mother, Shemaiah Hall, walk into the home. The caseworker didn't intervene. Should they have done? I don't know. What would the CPS protocol have been? It might well have been don't have a physical confrontation. That might well have been the protocol. We're not told that the CPS caseworker contacted their superior to check what to do or anything like that, but we are told that the CPS caseworker called 911, but only after the mother walked outside of the home with blood on her hands after having committed her evil psychopathic deed. The children were discovered unresponsive in a bedroom with stab wounds to their abdomens. The mother also allegedly stabbed her 4-year-old son and 13-month-old daughter. Thankfully, they both survived. There's the blessing, and it's a bitter blessing. The mother had 5 children, killed 3 of them, attempted to murder the remaining 2, but thankfully they did survive. Let's hope and pray that those 2, the 4-year-old boy and the 13-month-old girl, do make full recoveries, that they don't sustain life-sustaining injuries. And let's hope and pray that those 2 children get all of the love and attention, support, psychological, emotional, financial, medical support that they're going to require. We're told that the mother didn't have custody of the 5 children. The children were living with their grandmother. The grandmother was not home at the time of the slayings. We're not told how Shemaiah Hall gained access to the home. Perhaps she asked one of the children to let her in. Perhaps she had a spare key. Perhaps she was a guest at the home. We don't know. I'm sure that will come out in the trial. And there are more details about this psychopathic woman's previous crimes. Shemaiah Hall was previously arrested for stabbing her twin sister's boyfriend. That happened in 2017. So she stabbed her twin sister's boyfriend. And further to that, her twin sister, whose name is Troyshay Moan Hall, had stabbed her own 7-year-old daughter to death in 2017. Can you believe that? It's true. This mother, who has killed 3 of her children, attempted to kill 2 more. She had also previously, back in 2017, stabbed her twin sister's boyfriend, and the twin sister had killed her own 7-year-old daughter, stabbed her to death, and that twin sister was found incompetent to stand trial. So she's held in a state hospital, a mental institution. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells me, or my interpretation of that is that Shemaiah Hall will also, in my opinion, be found incompetent to stand trial. She will receive a psychological examination, and I have no doubt that she's going to be declared to be of not sane mind. She'll be diagnosed with whatever it happens to be, paranoid schizophrenia, whatever it happens to be, I don't know. I'm guessing, by the way. But I would be very confident that she will be declared incompetent to stand trial. That won't give her a pass. She also will be housed in a state hospital, a mental institution, likely for the rest of her life. That would be my take on it. That's my guess. Currently, the mother, Shemaiah Hall, is in jail, detained on a $10 million bond. And that's the second $10 million bond that I've seen Texas hand out in the last couple of articles that I've gone over. So I have to applaud Texas once more for giving out such a high bond. It's the right thing to do. You do not need to have prime suspects suspects that the authorities, the police, are very confident are guilty of committing heinous crimes, in this case of having killed her own 3 children, her 6-year-old son and 2 5-year-old twins. We're not told the gender of the twins, as well as having attempted to murder her 4-year-old son and 13-month-old daughter. Thankfully, those 2 survived. You don't need people like that having any possible chance of walking the streets. They don't deserve their freedom, and that's even when considering their mental illness. Okay, so yes, we can view those that have mental illness as being a victim of sorts. They're suffering a mental disease. They are not the same as other humans. They are not even the same as themselves prior to suffering from these mental diseases or disorders. But that doesn't give them a pass. They still are responsible for their actions, and the authorities, the police, the judicial system, are still very much responsible for punishing those that commit such heinous acts and protecting the rest of society. I think I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but I'm very, very glad that Texas has once more handed out a $10 million bond to virtually guarantee that this psychopath will remain detained until they face trial or until a determination is made against them. Clearly, this is an absolute tragedy. And why has this happened? Mental illness. Could more have been done to prevent this occurring? I would think that if any process or authority ought to be subject to an investigation, it would be those that are handling her mental state. So I presume a doctor or a psychiatrist or such. So that's where I would be looking. And perhaps it would be unfair to do so, but I would say clearly whomever is responsible, and I'm presuming that someone or some authority, I presume a doctor of sorts, whomever's responsible for managing her mental state in terms of the medication that she takes or does not take, that aspect seemingly has failed. And perhaps there ought to have been more alarm bells going off, more flags being raised, given Shemaya Hall's sister's previous disgusting act of killing her own child. I don't know how much of a connection there is between the psychology of twins. I'm no expert on that matter. I presume there is some to a degree, but regardless of that, it needs to be investigated and determined whether or not Shemaya Hall was receiving adequate care in regards to her mental state, and if she wasn't, then why not? I don't think Child Protective Services can be blamed. I think this is going to be traumatic for the caseworker that was there on site by the look of it. It's going to be traumatic for anyone involved in this case that's responsible for doing checks on the children of Shemaya Hall. They're going to be devastated by this. Did they do anything wrong? Probably not. That's my read on it. Probably not. I mean, the children had been taken away from the mother, put in the custody of the grandmother. That seems like that was the right decision to have made. The CPS worker seemingly was on site to remove the children. I'm not sure if that means remove the children from the grandmother, and if that is the case, why would that be? So I don't really know there. That aspect isn't really clarified within the article that I've gone through. But as far as I can tell, and I'm guessing of course, it seems to me that Child Protective Services haven't done anything wrong. Perhaps even they did everything right, and yet this tragedy has occurred due to the determination of an absolute psychopath. I'm going to say full condolences to all those that knew the children. Presumably there's a father or fathers. The grandmother, certainly I would imagine, is absolutely devastated. And I hope everyone concerned is able to get the emotional support that they require, including the police officers, including the CPS caseworkers, maybe the friends of the children. So I'm going to wrap things up at this point. I have gone on a little bit more of a ramble than I typically do. Perhaps you appreciate that, perhaps you don't. I'm interested in your feedback. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I'm on a mission to get 2,000 members on my YouTube channel. There's a join button that you can click on. I still have 2,000 to go. I may never get there. By the look of it, I never will. Not unless I become immortal. There's always that chance. But if you are in a position to consider joining the members, that would be wonderful. But I'll thank you for your time and take care.